Watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
All right, we're back talking about the top stories, the top news stories of the year 2008. I mentioned Prop 8. Big story, Rhonda?
Not here.
No?
No. I think
nationally?
I think nationally, people are expecting a lot of legal challenges, so they know that, even if you voted in, there's the possibility, the specter of legal action to undo it is always out there, regardless of the state.
Cy?
Should probably explain that Proposition 8 was voters voting down in California gay marriages, which had been real active in California. Mm-hmm. I think it disappointed the gay community that the black community didn't rally behind them. So in that respect, it opened up a little schism. I don't know in North Carolina how big a deal it is.
Any comment on that, Rhonda?
In terms of the black community, no.
Okay. I want to move on to local stories and your list for the biggest local stories of the year. Any story that you think was outshadowed the rest?
Well, to have a local state representative sentenced to prison and a local sheriff sentenced to prison, I think were the two big local stories, as well as environmental issues. We saw opposition mounting to the proposed Titan cement plant here.
The new port terminal has opposition as well for environmental reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, Cy?
I thoroughly agree with Rhonda. Those two, the Hewitt story and the Wright story, when you have politicians of that caliber going off to prison, that's got to be the biggest things that happened during the year. And we spent a good bit of our time on those two stories.
That's like the third sheriff from Brunswick County to go to prison, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
It's not a happy situation.
Yeah. What about Cape Fear Public Utility Authority? That generated quite a bit of news.
One thing that's disappointing for people who think city and county governments ought to consolidate, because it did not go very well. It took forever for the bills to go out, and then there seemed to be a lot of people who were upset at the size of their bills. Some of them were mistakes, and some of them were just the way it's calculated. But if you're a proponent of merging city and county governments, this wasn't the poster child for it.
Housing market and real estate. Of course, it was a national story. It was a story in every community. How about for us? Was it a pretty major?
Well, I think that, we're looking at two different things. Prior to us realizing the extent of this housing crisis, we had already been under a moratorium in New Hanover County because of the sewer problems. And so there were some developers who weren't able to build at that point. And then it's further compacted with the problems in the credit markets now and being able to get credit to finish projects. And so some of the development community are, at least from that side, are probably not having their best year.
Yeah, well, we had Rick Willits on, CEO of Cooperative Bank, and he said a big portion of their business was loans to development, and that has stopped. So that's been a big issue.
It is interesting that we had some projects in the work. The convention center, I think there's 3 hotels planned for downtown.
There are.
As far as I know, they're still going ahead with those projects. But some of the other big downtown projects, like replacing the Water Street parking deck, seem to be at least slowed greatly.
Cy, the paper was fairly active on vetting State Senator Julia Bozeman about some issues in her personal life. Any comments? Was that big news?
There were stories we did, and there were stories we didn't do. There were rumors that we never got around to trying to report on.
But would you consider it a major
so I think people
news story?
It was second or third tier.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't one of the big stories of the year, but it was definitely worth reporting.
How about that brutal stabbing and rape in the downtown district? That was a pretty spectacular story, as tragic as it was.
Yes.
Did you have a lot of calls on that, Rhonda?
Not really.
No.
No.
The public interest wasn't?
I think it was there, certainly, and concern for someone who's living in an area, but I think that there was also
crime and safety in the downtown district.
Right.
Aside, New Hanover County School Redistricting Initiative generated some stories.
Yeah, the lean towards neighborhood schools. It's disappointing that there's going to be so many schools that are overwhelmingly majority white or overwhelmingly majority black. And I'm not sure that separate is always equal. It's a shame to see us returning to that.
It's amazing how the legs that that whole issue has for years and years and years, still in New Hanover County. What about the ABC board and their botched expansion plans? Comments?
Well, I think that it's evidence of the need for greater controls, and we're seeing even the state ABC Commission now realizing that there has to be greater oversight, and they are not really beholden. They're appointed by county commissioners, but they're not beholden to anything. And so I think you're going to see a reining in of some of the powers that they've taken for granted.
Big story, Si?
Just in that it showed kind of a disregard for neighborhood efforts. There's other places you could have put that distribution facility besides in an established and historic neighborhood.
How big a story was the whole New Hanover County Commission race from the primaries to the election?
Well, of course, it saw two incumbents unseated, Bill Kopp and Nancy Pritchett. I think that there was some interest in it because you already had Jason Thompson, who was on Wilmington City Council, now wanting to move over to a new board, and he generated some interest, as he always does.
Yeah, he's kind of a lightning rod for interest, and I think that was a lot of it there. But
right, and then Jonathan Barfield, following in the steps of his father, who 28 years ago served as the county's first African-American county commissioner.
Joe Barfield, that was a nice story.
Yeah.
That was a big story, and only the second Democrat since Julia Bozeman stepped down to go to the state Senate. Right. How big a story was the ongoing, or is the ongoing saga of annexation of county land or county property by the city?
That's a big story. It's a huge story. And I think that we're going to see something. Of course, the legislature did not act on it. The House voted for a moratorium, a one-year moratorium on annexation. That the measure died in the Senate. But I think you're going to see more and more. There is a commission, a legislative commission that is overseeing the issue, and I think that they're going to make some recommendations to the General Assembly, some of them backed by the North Carolina League of Municipalities.
We're almost out of time, and I want to go to another category very quickly. Just give me some names of the people that the public were most interested in. You have the, and I don't mean Paris Hilton or Britney Spears, but of course, although the public has great interest in them, but Governor Palin, still. What other names?
Tina Fey.
True. Tina Fey, of course.
Tina Fey made Governor Palin in a way.
Yes.
Or helped define her.
The Obama family.
Yes.
Certainly a lot of interest in
Michelle
Obama in particular.
Anyone else? Illinois governor, perhaps?
Yes.
Generating some attention. Si, very quickly, we have like 10 seconds. Are you ever worried because of the downturn in the economy and the cuts that are being made in media, particularly print, that the watchdogs will have too much to watch?
It would concern me if there were no watchdogs, and that's what I worry about. In a time of shrinking media, are there going to be people in the future reporting on city council and county commissioners and school board?
We're out of time. Thank you so much, Si Cantwell, Rhonda Bellamy. If you want to see this program online, you can go to WILM-TV.com. When you get there, click on the Byline Wilmington logo. That's WILM-TV.com. That'll do it for today. We'll see you next week right after Face the Nation for more of the people and the issues that are the fabric of the Lower Cape Fear. I'm Don Ansell. Have a great week.
You've been watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Join us every Sunday morning at 11 as we explore the issues that concern you.